You picked up your phone 20 minutes ago to check one notification. You're still scrolling. You didn't decide to stay this long. Nobody does. And that gap between what you meant to do and what you actually did is not a personal failure. It's not weak willpower. It's a machine built with extraordinary precision to produce exactly this outcome. So what is it actually doing to you? Start in the 1950s with a psychologist named B.F. Skinner. Skinner spent years studying how animals learn using pigeons in a box with a lever. Press the lever, get a food pellet. Simple enough. But Skinner discovered something strange when he changed the pattern. If the pigeon got a pellet every single time it pressed the lever, it would press it calmly whenever it felt hungry. But if the pellet came randomly, sometimes after one press, sometimes after 10, the pigeon would press that lever obsessively, frantically, far more than it ever would for a guaranteed reward. The Skinner called this a variable ratio reinforcement schedule, and it turns out to be one of the most powerful behavior-shaping tools ever discovered. Not because the reward is bigger, because the reward is uncertain. Now think about your phone. Every time you pull down to refresh, you don't know what you're going to get. Maybe nothing new. Maybe a message from someone you care about. Maybe a video that makes you laugh so hard you have to show someone else. You genuinely cannot predict it. And that unpredictability isn't a side effect. It's the entire mechanism. Decades after Skinner, a neuroscientist named Wolfram Schultz ran experiments that revealed something even stranger about why this works so well on a biological level. Schultz measured dopamine activity in the brain while subjects anticipated rewards. He expected dopamine to spike when the reward arrived. Instead, he found the biggest spikes happened before the reward, during the uncertainty. When subjects didn't know if or when a reward was coming, dopamine activity rose sharply in anticipation, then dropped once the outcome was revealed, whether it was good or bad. In other words, your brain isn't primarily chasing the reward, it's chasing the not knowing. That single discovery explains an enormous amount about modern technology because almost none of it is designed around a guaranteed payoff. It's designed around a maybe. Maybe this next video is the good one. Maybe someone liked your post. Maybe there's something new. Your thumb keeps moving because your brain has learned, at a level far below conscious thought, that the next pull might be the one that pays off. This isn't an accident of app design. It's the deliberate architecture of it. Anthropologist Natasha Dow Schüll spent over a decade studying the design of slot machines in Las Vegas, sitting with engineers who explained, openly, exactly how they built machines to maximize what she came to call the machine zone, a state where a player isn't playing to win anymore. They're playing to stay in the state itself. Time distorts. Hunger disappears. The outside world fades. Schüll found that the most profitable machines weren't the ones offering the biggest jackpots. They were the ones offering the fastest, smoothest, most frequent series of small, uncertain outcomes, engineered down to the exact number of seconds between spins. When smartphone apps began redesigning themselves around infinite scroll, autoplay, and algorithmically shuffled feeds, they weren't inventing something new. Then, they were importing casino design principles directly into the device already in your pocket, one you check an average of over 100 times a day. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's not a lack of discipline. You have a brain that evolved over millions of years to seek out useful, uncertain information, because for most of human history, uncertain information was often survival, relevant. Was that rustle in the grass food or danger? Checking mattered. Ignoring it could get you killed. Your dopamine system rewards you for paying attention to the unknown because for almost the entirety of human history, that instinct kept you alive. Nobody built that system to handle an infinite feed engineered by teams of behavioral scientists specifically to exploit it, refreshed by algorithms updated in real time based on what keeps you looking a few seconds longer. That's not a fair fight. And treating it as a simple matter of willpower ignores exactly how sophisticated the other side of it is. So, does that mean you're powerless? Not exactly. It does mean the solution isn't shame. It's structure. Understanding the mechanism actually changes how it affects you, and that's not just a nice sentiment, it's measurable. Research on media literacy interventions has repeatedly found that once people understand how variable rewards work, specifically, that the unpredictability itself is the hook. They start recognizing the pull for what it is in the moment. Awareness doesn't eliminate the urge. It interrupts the automatic nature of it. It creates a half-second of noticing where there used to be zero. There's a reason some of the very people who helped design these systems, engineers and product designers who once worked on notification systems and infinite feeds, you barely notice it, have since spoken openly about turning off notifications on their own devices, setting grayscale modes to make their phones less visually rewarding, deliberately removing the exact features they once built. They understood the mechanism from the inside, and once you understand a mechanism from the inside, stops feeling like magic. It starts looking like a lever in a box. That's the twist worth sitting with. The pull you feel isn't proof that something is wrong with you. It's proof that the system is working exactly as intended, which means the fix was never going to be found by trying harder to resist it in the moment. It's found upstream, in decisions made before the phone is even in your hand. Turning off notifications you don't need. Moving certain apps off the home screen so opening them takes deliberate effort instead of thumb memory. Choosing specific times to check things instead of letting every notification dictate when your attention gets redirected. None of that requires more willpower. Requires designing your environment the same way the apps designed theirs, except this time, the design works for you instead of against you. Think about that pigeon in Skinner's box one more time. It wasn't stupid for pressing that lever obsessively. It was responding exactly the way any brain wired for uncertainty and reward would respond, under conditions specifically engineered to produce that response. You're not so different sitting there with your phone. The mechanism inside you is ancient, useful, and completely ordinary. What's changed is the box. So the next time you pick up your phone to check one notification and find yourself still scrolling 20 minutes later, remember that you didn't fail at anything. You met a system built by people who studied exactly how brains like yours work and built something extraordinarily good at using that knowledge. The only real difference now is that you know it too. If this video changed how you think about something you thought you already understood, that's exactly the point. Every topic on this channel starts the same way. Something familiar, something you've never questioned, and by the end, it's never quite the same again. If you want more of that, hit subscribe. New videos drop regularly, and there's always another hidden truth waiting to be explained. Drop a comment and let me know what surprised you most, or tell me what you want explained next. I read every single one. And if you're not ready to stop yet, there's another video right here that might just change how you see something else entirely.